We're a little over 25% done with 2025. How are those goals holding up? If you're still
and out in front during the day, they would put it all out there on the street, a lot of it out there on the street. And their name was the same as his, Sansone. And there was one other family who had a little store like that, and their name was Fiorini. And so it turned out that Fiorini was the family of Frank Sturgis. That was his original name, Frank Fiorini. So him and the other guy were the same, basically the same age, and they had been both in the World War II. Says both saw combat, and Sturgis started when he got out with the Norfolk Police Department, and he was a policeman for about 6 months. And he approached the chief, and he told the chief that he had witnessed some graft going on by members of the force, and the chief showed no interest in it. And with that, he lost interest in the force, and he resigned. And when he resigned, he worked in downtown Norfolk, and you probably have been down there where it's bar after bar after bar after bar
Oh yeah.
in a Navy town, you know. And he worked as a bouncer for a long time, and then he actually owned a bar, and his bar was like a ship chandler too, and he was very, very close with the Cubans who would come in on the ships coming in, commercial ships coming into Norfolk. And anyway, he had, in the meantime, he had joined the army because they wanted to use him in Germany for a while. And then, believe it or not, he joined the Navy for a little while to do something for the Navy. And then I'm sure he joined, was proselytized by the CIA because he was sent to Oriente Province, and he was the leader of the military arm of Che Guevara and Castro as they were teaching the guys who were going to go in on the original revolution that put Castro in power. He orchestrated that for the CIA. So now I was able to make a connection that the two of those guys worked for a time at the Naval Air Rework Facility. And they were close friends, and they also liked to fly. And they both knew how to fly. And then I was looking for him, and he sort of disappeared. You know, Frank Sturgis, showed up and all kinds of things, all the way through the Watergate. But this guy was hard to find. He had gotten out of town, and I couldn't seem to locate him. And another researcher, guy from up in Boston area, he called me one day because he knew the story, and he said, "I found your boy." And he said he lives in the Schenectady, New York area. So with that information, I started researching, and I found some Sansones in that area. And I made calls until finally I called somebody, and they said, well, we have a phone number of his daughter, and her name's not Sansone because she's married and so forth. And I got to her, and she told, I didn't tell her why I was looking for him. I told her I was writing a book about my job. And so she sent me 6 pictures of her father. And of course, the picture that I would have of him would have been in what in my mind was like 1968. So he got out of the army probably in 46 or 7. So he was quite a bit older than some of the pictures, but one of them was right on. So with that, I knew that I had finally found him. And he said, now I found him. He said, and you need to go to J.J. Weberman's book, which is called The Unauthorized Biography of Frank Sturgis. He says, and on about a page 126, he said, the pages aren't numbered. He said, but the front of the thing has a picture of Frank Sturgis and Che Guevara in Cuba together. And he says, and just turn the pages till you get to 126. He says, and you'll find that there was a meeting down in Miami. And at that meeting, Sturgis was meeting with another CIA man and a fellow who owned a small airlines. He said, and when that meeting was over, the airline guy and the CIA guy were going to lunch, and they invited Sturgis to join them. And Sturgis says, no, I'm going across the street here, and I'm going to have lunch with my best friend, Antonio Sansone. So that was the proof then that I needed that he was the guy who had threatened me. And
wow.
So I don't think he was a CIA agent, but I'm sure he was a contract guy, and that's why he was in and out, and may have been involved in training people for the Bay of Pigs and so forth. So anyway, that's how I got involved in the thing. And with that, I decided that I took a job with a New York publishing company of law books. And so I sold law books all over the state of Virginia. And I got to the point where I wanted to know more about the law. And so in the state of Virginia, I guess it's still available. But at that time, if you had 3 years of college, 90 hours, you could apply to the Virginia Bar Association to read law, what they call read law. And how that happens is that you work for 18 hours a week in a law firm. You don't work for them, but you're studying there. And they're available to answer any questions for you that you can't solve yourself. And of course, occasionally they quiz you on how you're doing. And you're studying the same subjects at the same time for 3 years that law schools are teaching contracts at the same time and so on and so forth. So not only was I selling law books, but I was reading law. And at the end of the 3 years, I was qualified to sit for the bar exam, just like I went to Harvard Law School.
Wow.
But at that time, I was making a fairly large amount of money because I had become very, very close with a lot of lawyers who wanted me to help them on other cases as an investigator. So with that, I I got a private license, and I would work using some of the books that I sold and to them, and I would help them in their cases and get paid pretty well for it. So I would have done far less by trying to start a practice with basically never having been to law school. Nobody would hire me, and I didn't think of myself as a go-getter at that time, and so I thought I was doing pretty well. So
yeah, there's another thing we were talking about earlier. Another motivation for you. You wanted to clear the name.
Oh yes, I mean that was that's born and bred in Marines.
Yeah,
the Brotherhood. I mean,
Yep.
Still today, some friends that I have in friends of yours too, are Marines, and whenever they say goodbye, they say Semper Fi. That's just the way it is.
Always
So
faithful. Yeah.
just like with you guys in the teams,
Hmm.
well,
You never leave it. Yeah.
it's a good bit different in terms of what goes on, but you know what I mean. Anyway, yeah, I wanted desperately to prove him innocent, and so
Right.
I worked on that as hard as I could until I found regicide. And when I found regicide, I couldn't understand why, with so many people writing books, I think I don't know how many were ever published, but some people say 2,000, some people say 2,562 years.
Wow.
But out of all of those books, there are only two that have the evidence of regicide that was in regicide.
Yeah.
And one of them is regicide and the other one's mine.
Yeah.
And so I drew the conclusion that there were lots of reasons why it didn't catch on. And it started with the fact that they may have been asleep at the switch up at Langley, because usually they get to this stuff as soon as the manuscript gets to the company.
Yep.
And but they in this case it didn't happen because this guy Gregory Douglas had written a couple of books about well, I'll put it this way. After the war, we engaged in Operation Paperclip, where we brought over 1,700 to 2,200 Nazis that we believe.
Great research. I've never heard anybody say those numbers. That's amazing. Yeah. That's good research. Ooh, good job.
Well, you're gonna hear something even better than that now. And
right.
Of course, people know that we had Warner von Braun, who headed up our rocketry,
NASA.
And put us, ahead of the Russians finally. And but what was hidden by the CIA for almost ever was a fellow by the name of Heinrich Mueller. And Heinrich Mueller was part of that, and he was the head of the Gestapo, the head of it. And I think he became they gave him a new identity here, and I think he became a professor in a California university. And they wanted him because he had the most knowledge of Russian tactics, spy tactics, and intelligence tactics, and so forth. And so they hid that, and they were afraid of him. I don't know why they didn't kill him, but it might have been that he was as good as anybody in the CIA in terms of intelligence handling. And they probably thought that he had a fail-safe system that it would just go crazy if anything happened to him. And so he wrote a couple of books, and him and Robert Trumbull Crowley worked together. He got a lot of information from Crowley about Mueller for his books, and they became sort of friendly. And whenever Robert Trumbull Crowley decided he was getting in the twilight of his career, now he was probably, I would say, one of the top 5 men in the CIA. Of course, there's the director, and then there was James Jesus Angleton, had a lot of power. Then there was Robert Trumbull Crowley, who was the head of the Dirty Tricks Division. Then under that was Bill King Harvey. And so whenever Mr. Kennedy fired the director, Dulles, he fired him for a couple of reasons, but the main reason that he fired him was, and his assistant Bissell and General Cabell, he fired them all after the Bay of Pigs because he had come to President Kennedy and he had said, I have to tell you, this Kennedy was now probably inaugurated for maybe in president for 3 months. And Dulles went to him and he said, I have to tell you that we have been working for 2 years with a group of Cuban exiles who have been trained and outfitted and in Lake Pontchartrain, Louisiana, and in the Everglades in Florida. And we are very, very close to assaulting Cuba. And we'll do a landing, and it's expected that a lot of people who are not happy that are still there with the change to communism will join it, and we'll take it over just the way Castro did. And so Kennedy, being a combat veteran of the Navy,
Yep.
He thought to himself, well, what about air cover? And he said, well, and he was kind of like lackadaisical. He said, well, we have 6 planes, and he mentioned a place in the Caribbean. And I can't remember now what it was, but it was like Nicaragua somewhere. And he says, we have 6 planes, and if necessary, we'll call them in. And so Kennedy said, well, I'll approve the plan. He said the plan was designed by Vice President Nixon for Woodrow Eisenhower, and he was the one in charge of it up until they lost the election. Kennedy was in. And so with that, he said, I will approve it with the stipulation that there will be no airplanes marked with U.S. insignias attacking Cuba. And Dulles said, oh, yeah, we won't have any of that. And so then, of course, with having 2,000, and I mean, I probably would have never been in the CIA, not smart enough, but it would occur to me when I first heard that was, we got 2,000 Cubans. Don't you think some of those people are Castro people? And he knows everything about this because they did, and they were ready and waiting for them. And so it wasn't like they thought it was going to be a walk in the park. And so then he goes to Kennedy. He says, I got to have some air cover. And he said, well, what about the 6 planes? He said, they took care, they blew them up. And he said, well, I told you I wasn't going to give you any air cover. And he didn't do it. So he took the blame for it, but it was Dulles' fault. And there was another reason, too, that he fired him, but we can't talk about that for a couple of more weeks. But anyway, he was always really the guy in charge. Even after he was fired, the new director was from California. He was a businessman. He had no background in intelligence. So he relied on Jesus Angleton, Robert Crowley, the Crow. They called him the Crow. And Bill King Harvey. And they talked to him all the time. So he was leading them. He was telling them, okay, so now we get to a very interesting point. There came a time between the time that Mr. Kennedy was elected and the time that he was inaugurated that a man appeared at the Justice Department where Bobby had gone over and opened up an office because he was going to be the Attorney General. And so this man came to the office and he presented himself with a business card. I don't know what was on the business card, but it indicated that he was a journalist with Izvestia, the Russian newspaper Izvestia. And so they went in or called into Bobby, and they said, there's a guy here from Russia who's a journalist, and he would like to speak with you if you have a few minutes. And he said, well, Jack's not elected yet, but he said, well, I don't want to see him on. So he said, okay, send him in. I'll just hear what he has to say, and I won't say anything to him. So they let him in, and they closed the door, and just the two of them are in the room. And the guy says, first, Mr. Kennedy, he said, I want to apologize for having misled you. He said, I am not who the business card says I am. He said, my name is Georgy Bolshakov. I'm a colonel in the KGB, and I work up at the embassy down the street. He said, and I am here at the request of Premier Khrushchev to come to you and to tell you that he hopes that first to congratulate you on the winning of the election, and then it's his hope that the relationship between our two countries will be better than it was with the last administration. He says, and with that, if there's ever anything or a problem that you can't solve or need any help, if you get to me, and I will put you in touch directly with Mr. Khrushchev, Premier Khrushchev, he said, and you'll be able to discuss things with him. And so he left. Well,
so let me break you right there. Your train of thought is amazing, but going down so many rabbit holes that you do in your videos, I watched where you went into detail about the Kennedy family, and wow, that was amazing. How all these different Kennedys, they're into alcohol running back then, and movies, and that was the way. I guess the father got more women, so he was a womanizer, moving alcohol and making all this money. And that's how the kids were able to, have the success they did. Wow. So I had no idea about some of that stuff. So yeah, I didn't want to break this, but I want to let everybody know. And I'm sharing little tidbits with everybody, your YouTube site, which I guess you have over 1 million views now, doing really good over there. So congratulations. But you have such incredible depth on so many things. I know you can't cover it all in just one show, but yeah, I just want to give everybody a little tidbit taste of how deep you are. So yeah, continue with this is very insightful. Many people don't understand the backstory on this and how it got to the point why this group that's non-elected decided things. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, that relationship was dormant up until after the Bay of Pigs. Mm-hmm. And of course, Jack Kennedy took the blame for it. The buck stops here, but he really wasn't responsible for it. It was Dulles. The Dulles brothers, actually, the two of them are just amazing. But anyway, now the next thing that happened was a man came months later after the Bay of Pigs was a fiasco. Months it came over because the Joint Chiefs were so far to the right that they just were marching as fast as they could to a war with Russia in some way. And so with that, they sent a spokesman over to see Jack Kennedy. And he said, he got in to see him, and he said, I'm a spokesman for the Joint Chiefs. He said, and they wanted me to tell you about a plan they have. He said, and it has the code name of Northwoods, Operation Northwoods. He says, and it's a false flag operation in which we would blow up a couple of our own buildings at Guantanamo. Nobody would be hurt. He said we would take a plane out of the sky that would be attributed to Cuba. He said we would attack a ship that was going between Cuba and Miami of people trying to get out. He said, and sink that. He said, and we would possibly blow up some sort of a statue or, some sort of a memorial in both Washington and New York. And with that, we believe that the American people would be behind us in going into Cuba. And Jack Kennedy says to himself, this guy's a lunatic. And so he brushes him off. Okay, yeah, well, I'll go over it and I'll think about it, whatever. And when the guy leaves, he goes into an office off of the Oval Office that his brother and his father are in there. And they start talking about it. And he said, "You're not going to believe it." He says, "I don't know what am I going to do with these people? I mean, they're crazy. They want to get into a war." And he says they got to commiserating, and he said it probably came up by one of them. What about that guy that came to see you, Bolshakov? Maybe this is a time that you should consider maybe talking to him because, Khrushchev probably has the same problem. He's got generals and admirals over there that are waiting to go too.
Yeah.
He said, so, it may not be, the pounding on the foot on all that stuff. He said that may be just all theater. He said,
yeah, what's amazing about what you're bringing up here, Operation Northwoods, CIA, not one to throw away a good plan, I believe used that on 9/11 to get us into war with the Middle East. So it's very, very insightful. Yeah. So thank you so much. Yeah, go ahead.
I wish that a lot of the researchers who have continued to hold to the ridiculous Warren Commission and thing. I mean, I don't even know what you call it. That's so ridiculous. I mean, they should all now jump on the 9/11 thing and find out, get hard evidence on that.
Yeah.
The Bushes. I mean,
yes,
they
sir.
were Germans to begin with.
Yes. Oh my God, your information is amazing. Good job.
Yeah. I mean,
I've been out here saying this stuff for years, and I've been all along. So thank you.
Sure. Well, at 82, I think God has let me have a really good memory.
Yeah,
because
good for you.
I don't read anything off of it when I'm talking. It's just in my head. But anyway, I thank him for that, giving me the ability, because I always expected that somebody else, more professional than me, would come out with this and say to everybody, wake up. And then I realized that millions and millions and millions of dollars and thousands of people, although I do say, in fact, I dedicated my book to people in the intelligence agency.
Yeah.
Because, this was all handled by, maybe 50 people.
Yes.
In intelligence, and
bad ones, yeah.
To me, most of the people go in the morning and they work all day and they work hard. A lot of the people in the field put their life in their, up in their somebody else's hands, and they just work hard like like a guy going to work in a mill in Pittsburgh, and it's a job, and they certainly had nothing to do with these things, these bad things.
Yeah.
But if you get people at the top who consider themselves smarter than the people that we elect to run things, then you're going to have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really where I decided that if nobody else is going to do it, I didn't think, I might have sold 100 books and that was the end of that. But somewhere in history, whenever the guys like Betzloss and the young lady, I forget her name right this minute, but that are our historians, haven't looked into this enough to realize that it's so obvious what happened. Now it is anyway, that we've got to have a Congress that says we got to do something here.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're going to have 9/11s and we're going to have this and we're going to have that, until we're not around anymore. So anyway,
well, it takes people that are brave like you, Jim, and it's there's not a lot of them out there, unfortunately.
Well, I wasn't brave till I was 80. You know what I mean? Yeah. When you get up here, you say, well, if they take me out, what are you going to do? Anyway, yeah, exactly. But I'm so happy that the people like these things I do on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because
they want the truth.
It's given them new interest now, mm-hmm. And that's what the whole thing was about. Yeah. And you inviting me on the show with the thousands and thousands of people that watch you, I mean, now they're going to hear some of the stuff too.
Yeah. I hope you get super successful. Well, like I said, we'll pass you on to all the other truthers and people that are out there. They'll want you on too. So we'll, you want to go big, we're going to take you there. So it'll be good, because you should be, because you have amazing information that you've done the research, you're doing more, and you're even taking it to another level again. And maybe that's something we'll bring up towards the end, but yeah, so here we are. We have the Kennedys, basically. They're going to talk to Khrushchev. And of course, even today, the CIA hates Russia. They're always trying to get Russia in trouble, always trying to start wars with Russia.
Yeah.
So what do these gentlemen decide?
Which gentleman now?
So the Kennedy clan. Kennedy goes in and talks to his father and his brother.
Yeah. So they decided that what they would do is to take Bolshakov up on his offer. And so they did set up a back channel. And what happened was the back channel was very successful, because it was the back channel that stopped the nuclear exchange between us and them, by Jack giving, I don't think they asked for it, but he said, look, I'll take our stuff out of Turkey and I think Italy. He said, but I can't do it right away. It'll take me between now and a year, maybe. I'll get them out of there. And that was a overture to Khrushchev that he was serious about, and then that gave Khrushchev hope that, his generals aren't going to topple him, because they're going to see that he got him to do that. And so it just worked out for both of them. And then we had the event in Germany,
with the tanks facing each other, yeah, Berlin.
The tanks were facing each other, and they handled that through the back channel.
Wow.
And that could have been a World War III.
Yeah.
So that may have been treason, but it would be treason that nobody would probably find him guilty of. So then what happened was they moved up. And what they did, one day, Jesus Angleton had a double spy in Russia who contacted him and said that he had seen a copy of the Morning Report. Now, for people that are listening and don't know what that is, the Morning Report is written, I guess, during the night by the Central Intelligence Agency, and it's ready at 7:30 in the morning, and there are 7 people who get together and they read it. And what it is the top trouble spots and things that are very important that are going on right now that need to be addressed. And so it's a highly secret document,
Mm-hmm.
and above top secret.
Yep.
Anyway, now Jesus Angleton had to figure out how they were getting that. So he came up with what was a pretty good idea. He decided to put a small mark in each one that was different. So when his guy got to see another one, he would know where to go to look for the mark. And that mark would indicate whose copy of the 7 they were getting. And when they found out whose copy it was Jack Kennedy's copy. So he was giving his copy to his brother. His brother was transferring it somehow to Bolshakov. And Bolshakov had a way to get the information to Khrushchev without going through the actual government and of Russia. And now that is treason. I mean, under the law, that would be treason. Giving the most secret intelligence about this country to what was considered the worst enemy. And so with that, they decided that they had to deal with it.
Yeah. But you know what's interesting about that? Yeah, it's, technically it's treason, but he was having to work around the CIA, which is trying to cause all these problems.
Sure.
And that's really where we're at. And that's
really
what the president should have a lot more power, but obviously the CIA, at least at that time, had more.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And they, I'm trying to think, after they found that out, he decided that there would be a meeting to decide what to do with Kennedy. And so they had the meeting on March the 1st of 1963. And Mr. Kennedy had made a rather liberal admission at the American University, I think it was, graduation ceremonies about all the things that we could do with Russia, space work together and this, that, the next thing. And so that really frosted them. So they then, on that day, they had a meeting, 3 of them, John McCone, the new head of the CIA, and Robert Trumbull Crowley, the Crow, and James Jesus Angleton. They had a meeting. At the meeting, they discussed what to do. And it came, of course, said, well, if we charge them, he said, realistically, we'll probably never be able to get them impeached with the way Congress is set up. He said, and even if we could get them impeached, we'd never get 60 senators to vote them guilty. And even if we could do that, it would take so long to get a final determination that he'd be halfway through his next term. And with that, it was decided that they would have to execute them. And while Mr. Dulles wasn't there, he wasn't in the meeting, his name wasn't mentioned, but I would say it would have never happened without his massaging the whole situation continually, because he wanted to get back to Mr. Kennedy. Anyway, and so that meeting was the first meeting of 63 meetings, most of them at Langley, but some of them were held like in the district at the couple of clubs. One's the University Club, and a couple of those high-end businessmen's organizations in Washington. They had the meetings, a couple there, and they had a lot of them on the conference calls. And in those meetings, there were minutes taken. So in the book Regicide and in my book, all the people who were involved in those meetings are named in the book. And it also tells a little bit about what they do or what they did, what was involved. What is very, very hard to believe is that they were able to keep it so quiet that nobody showed any indication of anything. And you have to understand, part of the Secret Service was in on it. Not everybody, but a number of them were in on it. The National Security Agency was in on it. The Naval Intelligence Group, ONI, and so forth, they were heavily in on it. And nobody said anything. And it went through smoothly. And some of these things are still left to be decided on how many teams there were. There were at least 2 teams and possibly 3 teams. And some of the teams didn't know who the players were in the other teams. And so, and there might have been, in the event that they didn't get him there might have been another team between Dealey Plaza and the place that they were headed, because there was a shooter in a motel that had access to the highway and would have been able to take a shot from his balcony. So, and these are little known things, you got to go deep to get some of this stuff. But anyway,
now, along these lines, Jim, since then they've seeded in all kinds of different disinformation. So you talk about all these books. A lot of these books are just disinformation, and of course it covers stuff up. I talked to James Files. I asked him during a show that I had, Shooter Behind the Picket Fence. He said that they were part of he was part of Assassin team, the Assassin 40 team. And I asked him, because no one had ever, I don't know that anyone had ever asked this question. I said, Jim, were you and your group part of going after people that were coming up with, getting close to information? And he's like, yes. Mm-hmm. I was like, wow. Oh, yeah. Crazy.
Yep. I mean, even some of the ones that might have been a shooter, like Mac Wallace, he was killed. He was was run off the road. I mean, the 2 Corsicans, there were 3 Corsicans, but 2 of them got flown out by David Ferry up to Maryland, supposed to spend the night in a safe house. And they were killed by a man from the Shin Bet, which is, I think, the secret police of Israel.
Wow.
Little known, is not known as much as the Mossad is known.
So many different players. Wow.
Secret police, yeah. And
Mm.
I don't, I can't bring it right up in my head right now, but I have the name of the guy who did that. The
Yeah.
name of the man in Chebet.
I saw you talk about the Corsicans in your book,
Yeah,
and Patriotism Unhinged, and I was, and it came to me that probably they used that to, work some kind of deals with the French. We know your guys were doing this. You never know all the different angles they use for all these different operations. They never intended to use those guys, maybe, or
yeah,
maybe they were used, and then they use them a different way, or they, remove them, or
right.
there's so many different moving parts of these things that people don't realize.
That's
It's
right.
not just one shooter, like, the Patsy, that never happened. He was never even involved.
Right.
So, and that's what Lee Harvey Oswald, that's why you got involved to begin with. And then look at all these different rabbit holes, and another rabbit hole down a rabbit hole. Just like, it's insane.
Sure.
It's amazing you
Sure.
keep up with it. So good for you. Wow.
Well, Lee Harvey Oswald. I mean, uh, it would only take you 3 or 4 minutes of knowing that Lee Harvey Oswald joined the Marines, and he was too young. They found out he lied about his age. They put him out.
Yeah.
As soon as he was old enough, he went back in. And while he didn't qualify with a rifle, it said he was very intelligent. And he went to Atsugi, and he was proselytized by probably the fellow, CIA guy,
Yep.
hero in this Korean War, and got a battlefield commission. He was only the captain. He was only like 26 years old or something. Anyway, he was a CIA guy in Atsugi, and he talked him into going to Russia. Was him.
Yeah. Yep.
So they sent him back to North Carolina to illusionary warfare school in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina.
Hmm.
And we know this because Tosh Plumley went to the same illusionary warfare school, and he was there whenever Oswald was there.
Wow.
Now you only go there because you're gonna get in the spy business.
Yep.
You're gonna get in intelligence heavy, deep, and so and then he was sent to California. I forget the city, but it's where they have the big language school.
Yeah, it's on the coast. I'm trying to think of it off the top of my head too. Yeah,
and he went through that school in a elevated Russian language course, and then of course he was released from the Marine Corps on the grounds that his mother needed help at home, and within a week he was flying to Finland on his way to Moscow in a week. And so that was all part of the deal. He was being sent there because he was bait because he had worked with the U-2s.
Yeah.
And
he went to Presidio of Monterey.
Yeah.
Language school. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't remember it either.
I think they were thinking they'll take a look at him because they expect anybody that goes over there like that is going to be a plant.
Yeah.
So they look at them, and then they may have been able to turn a couple of people themselves. And so, but him, they didn't show much interest in at all. And in fact, he had to cut his wrist or something to, like with a butter knife or something, to get them to let him stay. And they never did really try to use him or anything. And when they just recently, when the documents were the last bit of documents came out, I got a copy of a communique that was transferred from Russian into English, where we're talking about bringing in some people as professors. We switched professors with Russia, and it said that talking about Lee Oswald, that while he was over there, he took part with his friends in some shooting, and he wasn't any good there either. And so somebody got that and sent it to me as, I guess, a present, you know. But in Regicide, not only are the minutes of the meetings, and they name Sam Giancana, they name the people that were really close to the thing. Now, my book, when I wrote the book, what I was trying to do was to reach some young people, maybe college age and above, that you know, are history driven and wanted to know more. So I wanted to put something in there for them. So there's 4 parts to my book. It's only 162 pages. But the first part was to show why I got interested. The second part was 20 people who knew about the assassination in advance. And there's a lot more than that. But I put 20 people in that could be corroborated, you know. And and then I put the regicide data that was taken out of Langley and hidden, and then eventually transferred to somebody to write the book after he was dead. That was the deal. You couldn't write it until after he died. And so he died, I think, in 2001, or maybe 2000 or 2001. Anyway, and Gregory wrote the book. Came out 2002 or 3, I guess. Anyway, however, I forget where I was headed with that, but
now when I think Regicide, they talk about how when Lee Harvey Oswald was in Russia, to get in good graces with them, he gave them information about the U-2 spy plane, and from that they probably used that to shoot down.
Might have been
Gary Powers.
Yeah, might have been.
Yeah,
because they had made a decision that would have been a worthwhile experience if that made him a better spy, because they trusted him after that, but they never did. So
and that might be why he was expendable to them. And
when he came back, I mean, he got a check for airline tickets for him and his family to come home, and he never was even debriefed. Then he had never had the education that they wanted for people to be in the CIA, and so they gave him a job in one of their photography places, studying photography and cameras and all that. And that lasted a little while. And then they got him a job in a coffee company. They got him a job in there. And, he wasn't making any money. And eventually he got that job through the Paynes. The Paynes are connected real strongly to Mr. Dulles. And that was where they had sucked him in over there in Dallas. Because Mrs. Payne could speak a little Russian, and Little Russian. I think she taught it, but that's they put them together, and so she got him the job in the Texas School Book Depository, and he was making $1.25 an hour, and they found over $300,000 worth of photographic equipment that he owned. So how's that happen?
Yeah.
So they used them as much as they could. Now, in those days, the CIA and the FBI, they didn't cooperate too much with each other. I don't know if they do today even, but anyway, back then, and so. The FBI knew about him, and there were a couple canceled checks that he got paid by the FBI, and there's a 201 file that existed that he was in the CIA. So you look at that evidence, and you have to say to yourself, you know, this kid wanted to do what he could, to get into, the real game, and maybe he didn't have the ability, or maybe he did. A lot of what I'm hearing now from people was he was much smarter than people thought he was, but he didn't have the education. And I don't know if that's a test you have to meet to get in. For example, himself, James Files, he didn't have a college education.
Nope.
But he was only a contract agent.
Yep.
And not a regular agent. And so anyway, but it just seems so sorry that he gave so much, and then they killed him like a rag doll, and ruined his family's reputation and his children's reputation. And I think
destroyed everything about him. Yeah.
Someday. I think someday in the United States there might be a bronze statue to him for having given his life, not on purpose, but anyway.
I appreciate you thinking that way. That's and because I felt that way about James Files too. And at first I'm like, God, this guy's like the shooter of JFK. And then when I started talking to him, I'm like, he is like me. He had the greatest, education within the military, SEAL Team 6. I was at Pinnacle, and he's doing the same stuff. And I remember guys going off and doing secret missions. I did some myself, actually, which very few people know about.
Sure.
And very few people will go to their graves knowing. So he's like one of those guys, and he was believing, like everyone does that goes in the military, you're trying to serve the best for your country. And that's what Lee Harvey Oswald was doing. And then, like you said, that's beautiful that, he deserves a statue, but they vilified him and destroyed all his record, credibility, everything.
Yeah.
God, unbelievable.
Now, a lot of people don't know this. The reason that I wrote the book and self-published it was that whenever Regicide came out, I don't know this to be a fact, but I think that Gregory Douglas had a manuscript that he gave to the people that did his other books, maybe. Mm-hmm. And so it went to them, and then Wilson Printing or something. And they put the ads in places that they thought that people who read a lot would look and see the ad. And it said that if you had a copy of Regicide, that if you send it in to us, we'll give you $100 for it. So a lot of people who bought one, probably, I would think back then, a paperback might have been $10, $12, and maybe even less. So that was a pretty good chance that people that saw that ad would send them in, and the word would go around, send them in, So I guess they got most of them. Now I have one here because I was relying on this book and not being able to get one. It took me over 2 years of really hard trying to find one. Mm-hmm. And finally I found this one. It's a hardcover, and I found it on Biblio, and I had to pay $300 for it. But I needed it because I needed to be able to show something and say, well, if you could find the book, this is what you would have found. This way it's here, and everything that I say is in it. All of the evidence. And not only that, there's a statement of policy in here that was written for all of the people in the CIA to read at some point, that on a need to know basis, that why they did it, why they had to do it. And in that in that report, there is a reference to the fact that the French President de Gaulle came to the funeral of Kennedy. And he had a meeting after the funeral with the director and with Angleton. And he told them, and they were very surprised, he told them that his intelligence people told him that there were French Corsicans involved in the case. And that he also told them that after the war, whenever the French wanted to give back, he wanted to give back Algiers to the Algerians, and there was a large group of people that didn't want that to happen, and they tried to assassinate him several times.
Wow!
And one of the times, they had help from our CIA.
Mm.
And so he confronted them with that. And so I think they got a little bit of an awakening that some of these other intelligence agencies are not stupid. And that meant that he knew that it was them behind it. So that was like the next day or two after the funeral. So can you imagine that, knowing that the head of another country now knows that the CIA was behind the killing of the president? So, I mean, it's just amazing, just amazing.
It is. Yep.
And so there are.
So we have all these group. Well, not all these groups, but these in the zipper file they have. Like you talked about the CIA, Defense Department, all these State Department, all these different. You would think that are out for the American people and protecting the president. They're actually these special people within these groups.
Right.
Decide he's going to be assassinated. He's going to be killed and assassinated. And so you have all these different assassins, all these teams come in, and it was like, I guess they'd even tried to do it. James Foss, I think talked about how there was a scheduled one for Chicago, but it didn't work out. So they planned it for Dallas.
Yeah. Angleton wanted to blow up his boat, their boat, and they stopped him from allowing that to happen because the children would have been on the boat and the wife would have been on the boat. Jeez. Up in Hyannisport.
Yeah.
He said, we'll just blow the boat up, yep. Which is how they killed, how the CIA killed that British general.
Right.
Part of the family. And, the IRA, they said did it, but it was actually the CIA that did it. I forget his name.
I didn't know that. It's good. Huh.
Yeah. I mean, the IRA helped them, but I mean, sure. It was, yeah. But anyway, I mean, it's just.
Yeah, I think that's how they took out JFK Jr. They just blew him up.
There's
or someone like him.
Yeah. I just look at my notes for a minute.
Lord Mountbatten. Yeah, I remember that.
That was Lord Mountbatten. Yeah.
Yep, that was crazy.
Now, the another thing about the CIA that probably people don't know is that in 1947, Dulles and his brother came up with the concept of a law put into effect, and they went to Truman, and the name of that law was
They made a movie of it.
Huh?
They made a movie of it.
Yeah, but there was that law. Come to me in a minute, I guess. But anyway, and they convinced him that you know, in the day from after the war, that the world has changed so much that you're going to have to, from time to time, have to kill people. And they said that otherwise, the one brother, John Foster Dulles, he said, he was the one that come up with the domino theory. If you let Vietnam turn communist, then Laos will turn communist, and then, all the way down. So Asia will be all communist. And so they did convince Truman that in this day and age, we have to be able to kill people. There are people that need killing. And they killed Patrice Lumumba. They killed Allende. I have never put a list together, but there are, and these are all written in stone. I mean, this isn't, I didn't get this in a dream, Yeah. And so anyway, Truman agreed to it because it was called executive action. It's executive action means we got to kill people. And then he came back later and he said, well, what we need to do is blame it on somebody else or, not people think it's us. And so he came up with plausible deniability. And Truman said, no, absolutely not. So he went to the Washington Post and he said that Truman had proved it. And they put it in the paper about plausible deniability, and Truman went nuts. And he wrote a thing for the paper. I don't have a copy of that, but I should. Castigated him for lying about the whole thing. But that started a sort of might have been the birth of the underbody, which is now the deep state. It sucked in, George Bush. George Bush was a member of the CIA the day he stepped out of Yale.
Yep.
Wow. He was in Dallas that day. Mm-hmm. He was, I believe there were five of our presidents who knew about the assassination. We start with LBJ, okay? Yeah. And we know that Nixon knew about it because Nixon was at the big party that they had the night before the assassination at Clint Murchison's house. Now, he owned 500 companies and was an oil gazillionaire in Texas. And he put up the $400,000 for the team that was representing business interests. And
that was interesting how you brought that up in the book. I never had any idea about that, but these guys stood to gain a lot from the assassination. So that's very interesting.
Yeah. And he forget where I was.
We're talking about the oil guys.
Yeah, money. Right. So, so anyway, he was one of them. He was at that party, and that party had a number of people at the party. It was a large party, and it was being thrown for J. Edgar Hoover. And J. Edgar Hoover, I don't know what the event was, but he came in with his assistant, Clyde Tolson, and but at about 11 o'clock, when it was getting ready to sort of break up, Johnson came in. And when Johnson came in, the men excused themselves from the party, and they went into his study, which was huge, and there could have been 20, 22 people in there. And they talked about the assassination and whatnot, and Nixon was in that room, and so he knew about it. And then H.W. Bush was part of it, so he knew about it. And on the day of the assassination, it must have been CIA Take Your Child to Work With You book, because there's a picture of W. Bush in Dealey Plaza that day, quizzically looking for his father, who had been picked up and taken to an office and told everybody he was a CIA agent. Then he walked out. But and then he's the only man in America who was alive at the time who doesn't know where he was when Kennedy was killed. He told that lie for years. I really don't remember where I was doing. Anyway, and the last one, I believe, is Gerald Ford, because Gerald Ford was put on the commission, and he was a little-known congressman at the time, and he was so close to J. Edgar Hoover that every night that anything of substance was discussed in the Warren Commission hearings, he would call J. Edgar Hoover and tell him what happened, what went on, and what they might be careful of or watch for, things like that, you know. And so that would indicate to me he more than likely knew about it. So that's 5 presidents who knew about it.
Wow.
And
never said anything about it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And 2 of the people that were on the commission wanted to get off the commission, didn't ever want to be on it anyway. But 2 of them made a deal that in the commission they would say that they agree with everything except the single bullet issue, and that was the Kentucky senator and the Georgian senator. Those 2 guys said we won't say that, and so they said they told him, well, Dulles says we're going to straighten that out, but he never did, and they were very, very upset about that. And then there was another guy that was killed in an airplane crash that they thought might be going to start talking about how he felt about it. So, I mean, you know, it didn't go easy for them either. But there were so many threads that they didn't see coming that's why I call them the gang that couldn't think straight. But
now another thing that you've shared, the captain of the Old Guard died mysteriously. So this is actually leading up to the assassination. So we have all these people talking just before the assassination in Dallas, and and then this poor captain, unfortunately, Old Guard. And the Old Guard, if anyone doesn't know, they're the guys that basically do like that precision 21 gun salutes. They're like crisp. Everything is perfect. These guys train hard. The Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, they march. They're like, they're the most professional professionals as far as like military discipline and order. And so tell us about this crazy story about the Old Guard.
Okay.
God. Oh my God.
Well, first I will tell people that the guard, the head of the guard, is chosen by the president. He has, they bring several people to him, and he chooses which of those that he would like to be the head of the guard, captain of the guard. And he chose this gentleman. And
I never knew that. That's really interesting.
Yeah. He chose this gentleman, and they say one of the reasons, and this could be a story, I I couldn't swear to this. They said that they were saying to him, to these people, would you have any trouble saluting the president? And of course, they all said, whoever they were, they said, no, or why would I? And he said, yeah, I would. And they said, well, why is that? He says, because there's no African Americans in the Guard. And so they must have told Kennedy that. So when Kennedy was talking to him, he must have brought it up again. And then there were immediately African Americans in the Guard. And he led the Guard. And they take care of everything from the caissons to the horses to, everything that has to do with the ceremonial stuff, like you said. And however, on the day of the assassination, of course, he was back at Fort Myer. And after the 1 o'clock announcement that Kennedy had been killed, he was contacted by who we don't know to get ready to accept the body at Bethesda Hospital. And it could be as early as 4 o'clock. And we're not sure exactly whether it'll be on a plane or by helicopter, or maybe it'll come in an ambulance from an airfield, And so he went over there immediately. And the naval people, first class chiefs, and the people that worked around the morgue area of the hospital were told that this Army captain is in charge. So you'll take your orders from him, and you do everything that he says. He's in complete charge. So he probably was already conflicted, because he had been told about 3 days before this that he would start to practice for a presidential funeral.
Wow.
They later said, they got great minds working for them to cover it up. That somebody came up and said, well, Herbert Hoover was still alive at the time. And so then they said, well, that was because Herbert Hoover they thought was close to death. Well, he lived another year, so he wasn't that close to death. But anyway, so that's what they told him, and that's what was in his mind whenever the assassination happened, okay? So then to make it even more intricate was that, if you remember, well, you were probably too young to remember, but people that were alive, and even some children, everybody was watching TV, remember that what you saw was the Secret Service carrying the casket up to the back of the plane, and even breaking off some of the handles to get the casket in back there. They had to tear out a couple of rows of seats and get it in there. And then you saw inside the plane people gathering for the swearing in of LBJ. And that was all on film. And then there was no film, of course, while the plane was in the air. And when the plane landed at Andrews Air Force Base, in the front of the plane somehow, or maybe it was the back, I'm not sure, there was an elevator. Why they didn't take the casket in on the elevator, I wondered. But they brought it out on an elevator, and it came down, and with it, the Secret Service were on the elevator, and I think Jackie and Robert, who had been in the plane once it landed with Jackie, got off of it along with his admiral, who was his personal physician, Jack's personal physician. And I don't know why he really couldn't use one at that point. But anyway, they got into a gray naval ambulance with a coffin. That coffin proceeded over to Bethesda Hospital, and it arrived at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock. They got out. The three of them got out. There were some dignitaries and military and civilian there, who then went with them, and they went up on the elevator to an area that was like a waiting room area. And the ambulance, what the press saw and were filming, was the ambulance pulling out, going around to the back of the hospital and pulling in to a parking space as close to the door of the morgue as possible, right next to a very similar gray naval ambulance, which was sitting next to it. Now, they had prepared to have some corpsmen take the casket out and bring it into the morgue. However, when they did that, suits and probably Secret Service and CIA were the suits, and they stopped the guys and they said, just put the casket down here outside the door. And then they took it inside on a gurney, and they moved it in and into an area where it's kept a little cold in there, because that's where they have the refrigerators that they put the bodies in. Mm-hmm. So anyway, and that was at about, according to the pathologist named Jim Jenkins, I think, who has been on TV with one of the people.
Ben David.
Ben David. And he admits that he was there, and the coffin that that they brought in wasn't the coffin that you saw on the plane. That the coffin that they brought in was a typical coffin transporting a person who was killed in combat, and put in a body bag and in one of those and sent over. And they moved that. He moved that, opened it up, took the body out, along with I think a guy named Dennis David. But anyway, and so the body was wrapped in sheets, and they put it on a gurney, and they put the gurney there, and it sat there from I think he said 6:30 to 7 o'clock. It sat there, and then they moved it somewhere. And now, what this guy, this captain of the guard, is seeing is that the body's there, and he doesn't know probably what's going on, where the plane landed, and that body's not there till 8 o'clock. So obviously, there wasn't anybody in the coffin that you saw on being transferred into the back of the airplane and down on the thing and into there wasn't anybody in the coffin. What really happened was, and this is conjecture, but that either Air Force Two was used, and immediately upon the death of Kennedy, somebody was searching for John Liggett. Now, John Liggett was the best mortician in Texas, maybe one of the best in the country. He had worked for the CIA before on cases that needed to have some handling done. And he was whisked away from a funeral, and he was on the plane with the body. My best guess, it wasn't Air Force Two. They would have a lot more room to work on the large jet that takes the all the other vehicles, the limousine and the Secret Service vehicles, because what normally happens is whenever Air Force One takes off, those vehicles are still at the airplane. They ride around and get in that large plane. That plane takes off and lands way ahead of Air Force One, wherever it's going. They then unload all those things and they have them waiting so that when a plane pulls up, he gets out of the plane and gets in the limo.
Right.
That's what it works.
Yep.
So I think that it's just common sense that John Liggett worked on the body, filling the hole in the back of the head with somebody else's, they probably had another body to use parts of. And, and
so do you think that this captain somehow got,
well, he knew the time, he knew the time difference.
Yeah.
So he knew they're lying. The body was there way before they were there. So there was no body, coming on that plane. And that coupled with the fact he was supposed to 3 days beforehand practice for the funeral.
Yep.
I think he drew the conclusion something's wrong here. And he might have said that to somebody, whatever.
Yeah.
And
he wasn't wise like you and just kept that to himself for a little while. And then, so
yeah, exactly.
But I've seen all this stuff too. I was, part of details where I moved Ambassador Bremer in Iraq and stuff. So yeah, You're right. Everything, you have an advanced detail, and then you have the the detail that's around the president. So I think we know that the detail that was around the president was corrupt. Obviously, I looked at that and I was like, yep, those guys, that's not the way that works. The first shot and that limo would have been so fast out of there, and yep, they were corrupt, bad.
So that coupled with the fact that his mother and father, he may have had some conversations with them in the time between the assassination and his death, because his father was a executive with the Ford Motor Company. And whenever they wouldn't listen or investigate any of what his family was trying to tell him, he got very upset. He started drinking very heavily. Sometimes he went to work and sometimes he didn't go to work, but he got paid. No matter whether he went to work or he didn't get work, his check came. And the other thing that happened was he was entitled to a new car every year. And so what he would do when he ordered the car, he would pick the most outlandish things that were possible. On one, it said that he had a roof that was covered with zebra skin or something. The whole roof of the car was zebra skin, and it was pink, and had lights on it that were like from a fire truck, and all this craziness. And he would park that car in front of his house to upset his neighbors because they all turned against him with his conspiracy theories. Wow. And so he was upsetting the neighbors with that car every year. And but he drove back and forth to work in a Mercedes-Benz every day. So and then he had a sister, Captain Groves had a sister, and the sister knew all about these things, and she was very, very talkative and trying to get press and doing all these kinds of things. And she was visited by a couple of suits. Suits told her, if you don't stop this, we're going to take your children from you.
Wow.
And so, and by the way, she died a couple of years later at 33.
Oh, that number. Wow. That's
so,
smart.
And the captain himself had a physical within 6 months. Never had no problems. He was in top physical condition.
Oh, yeah.
Never had no problems or wasn't sickly in any way. And so, you don't just, but we do know that two things that they worked very hard on was the ability for a quick death to be a heart attack that was very hard to trace. And that heart attack may have been used in some other deaths that I'm on that will make world news, and also
some kind of snake venom. Yeah.
And the other thing is that the
Dirty Tricks Division.
Huh?
The Dirty Tricks Division. Yep.
Yeah.
Venom.
And the other thing was that in Operation Mongoose, which was hiring the mob to kill Castro,
right?
One of the idiotic attempts, cigars that blow up, and there's nobody in the world who ever lived through more idiotic attempts to kill them than Castro.
Right.
But anyway,
now that captain, if I remember correctly, he was after all this stuff, and I remember the funeral because my family kept it all quiet. They didn't want the kids to be exposed to it. I was 3. I'm the same age as John, but they did let me watch the funeral procession, and I remember John doing that salute, and that stuck out of my mind. Ever since. Yeah.
Yeah, it was heart-wrenching.
Yeah,
heart-wrenching. Yeah,
for the whole nation. God,
yeah,
they killed our president right in front of us in the most horrific way. Yeah, it's crazy. And we're still figuring it out, thanks to you.
Well,
we're getting even more information.
It's really funny because, I'm not. I'm probably. I guess a lot of people that know me would say I was a shy person, and I probably am. I'm blessed to have a wife that is, if we go to a party, by the time the party's over, she knows everybody in the room, or sometimes she'll just start talking to somebody at the next table when we're in a restaurant. And
we're the same. We're the same. I'm an introvert, and my wife is an extrovert too. That's funny.
Yeah. So anyway, I've been lucky, in my life, but I see myself as like everybody's next door neighbor. That's all. And I didn't even know, for example, that with these, my daughter's a lawyer. And when I told her that we were starting to try to sell the book, to get it out by doing these views on YouTube.
Right.
And then afterwards I said, it seems to be picking up. I mean, there's a lot of people who watch that stuff. And she says, Dad, there's millions of people that watch that every day even. She says, they'll pay you for that sometime. And I said, oh, come on. I didn't even know anything about, when it comes to computers and things, I just gave up, I'm not going to. I'm a little too late to try to learn that now. But so I just see myself as a very regular guy who just had a lot of time on his hands and spent it in what I consider to be a very interesting situation worldwide. It affects the whole world.
Yeah, and, fantastic.
But I would be. It would be a great thing to go to my grave, knowing that I was at least part of the awakening that caused another investigation that came to the correct conclusions. So that's why I do it.
I don't know if we're going to get that investigation. I think we're the truth tellers now, and we're the ones that are really getting it out there. So this is the great platform of doing that now.
Yeah.
And it's amazing they're allowing us to do it, because I was censored on YouTube for a long time. So something has shifted. You have come out with your book at the perfect time, Patriotism Unhinged. So that's probably going to do well. My books, when they came out, because I talk about, in my first book, I talk about the CIA because I was in the CIA.
Yeah.
And I think there'd be any problem. I've done top secret stuff, been part of that stuff for a long time. I know what's shareable and what's not, but there's some hinky stuff that happened once I released that book, and it's been suppressed quite a bit. So I think we passed that somehow now, thanks to President Trump and probably some other actions that are happening. But you, I, and other people are the ones who are really bringing this out. And I know that you and Jim Files, I just want to break this real quick because I have to jump off for another show, but you are going to interview Jim Files. Oh my God, that's going to be absolutely amazing. And you're going to hold that until he passes, because he's unfortunately close to passing. And then, so he's going to tell you some insights that, oh, Bubba, that's going to be amazing when it gets out.
I think he got in touch with me by way of somebody that he knew,
right?
And they called. Well, so we're going to have a meeting actually Thursday.
Oh, good, fantastic. Yeah. And if possible, maybe all of us can do a roundtable here on YouTube and share like a little taste of that for at some point when that comes out. We kind of talk about that. Yeah, great.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, Jim,
I want to thank you immensely for the invitation, and
I want to thank you immensely. God, it's just incredible information. I'm sure we could probably do about 10 shows and still scratch the surface. Hopefully in the future we'll do some more, but we'll get your information out to other people, and we'll keep this going, because American people want this information. You're a master at it, so I really thank you so much for the work you're doing.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.